Hi, welcome to my channel Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. In this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to knit this beautiful baby blanket. It's very easy to do. I hope you guys like it and give it a try. And here is the list of material you're going to need to make it. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe and click on the little bell. That way you get notification each time I upload a video. Remember, I make my videos in Spanish and English. If you receive a Spanish video and you want to see in English, go to the main page of my YouTube channel that you'll find the English version in there. This baby blanket is absolutely soft and squishy and it feels amazing. So if you use this type of yarn or any yarn that is a little bit like this one, don't have to be exactly like the one I'm gonna use, but something that is similar, you will love this baby blanket. To make this baby blanket, I'm gonna use these Caron Chunky Cakes, this gorgeous color. They are Cherries Jubilee. Super bulky 6. They recommend 8mm netting needle or US 11. They are 280 grams, 100% acrylic, and is 9.8 ounces, 271 meters. I have these two. I hope it's enough for the baby blanket. I have this row counter or round counter, and it's a marker at the same time. If you don't have one of these, you will need two markers if you want to mark the borders. I like to mark my borders because if I'm watching TV or doing something, I know when it's time to change the stitch. I don't have to keep track. I just, when I get to the marker, I know I have to pay attention that there is a different stitch. It's gonna be a seed stitch for the borders. The netting needle are this Xiaogu 8mm with the long cable. You're gonna need tapestry needle, scissor, and measurement tape if you want to go by measurements. These are the two stitches that we're gonna do for our blanket. The C stitch is multiple of 2 and gonna be the repetition of 2 rows, and the diagonal rib is multiple of 4 and 8 row repetition. So it's very easy. I'm gonna cast on 80 stitches, 16 for border, 8 in one side, 8 in the other one, and 64 for the center. Remember, I'm using a super bulky yarn and 8mm netting needle, so they are very thick. So that's why only 80 stitches. If you are using a thinner yarn, like a medium 4, you can double to a strand, or you can use one strand with a 5mm or 6mm netting needle, but you will have to cast on more stitches for the border and more for the center of the blanket. Now I'm going to leave the tail long enough to cast on the 80 stitches. So I'm going to wrap in the needle. So what I do with the other end, that way I don't make a lot of noise, is I stick it inside the cake and leave it there. So I'm gonna wrap 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. 20 and 20 is 40. And 40 and 40, 80, plus a little extra, like always, to leave a little extra to lose the tail. I'm gonna do the slip knot. This is the tail, this is the working yarn, that's the one that I'm gonna continue to the pull of yarn. I'm gonna wrap like so. I take the loop out, you see, and then through the loop you pass the yarn, and you have your slip knot in the center of the work of the yarn. So I'm gonna come here. This is the tail and the working yarn, and I'm gonna cast on my 80 stitches. You can cast on any way you like to cast on your stitches, and here you're gonna cast nice and loose your 80 stitches. I like to do this long tail cast on. So I will meet you here once I have my 80 stitches on the needle. Once you finish casting on your 80 stitches or the amount of stitches that you are going to use for your blanket, we're going to do a row of C-stitch. You're going to start with one net and one purl. And that's the repetition that you're going to do over and over. One net, one purl. You're going to continue with one net, one purl. At the end you will finish with one purl, and again you will start with one net, one purl, one net, one purl for 8 rows. Once I have those 8 rows of C-stitch done, I will meet you here. I finished row 1, now row 2. You're gonna start the same way that you finish. You finish with a purl, you're gonna start with a purl. So you're gonna purl 1. And net 1. So we do the opposite. We are purling the nets and netting the purls. And those are the 2 row repetitions that you're going to do for 8 rows. So remember, row 1 is 1 net, 1 purl, and row 2, 1 purl, 1 net. I finished the border and I did 2 extra rows. I did 10. That way the same width that I have for the side border is almost the same as the lower part. You know, that way it's nice and square. And it looks gorgeous, this seed stitch. Now we're going to start row 1 of the motif for the blanket. So you will continue with the seed stitch in the border, and then you will pass the marker, and then you will start with row 1 of the stitch of this beautiful diagonal stitch. So we're going to start with row 1. So go ahead and do these 8 stitches of the seed stitch. When I pass the marker, I will work my 2 first motifs in Spanish and then the other 2 in English. So I already did the border stitch and my 2 first motif in Spanish. So it's very easy. It's like when you pass the marker, you're gonna do 2 net, 2 purl, all the way until the other marker. 2 net and 2 purl. Two net and 2 purl stitch. And like that you're going to continue pass the marker, and then you will continue with the seed stitch. If you have a purl, you will do a net. If you have a net, you will do a purl. I finished the 2 purl stitch. Now I pass the marker, and this one is a purl, so I'm going to do a net. Start the seed stitch, and that one is a net. I will do a purl, and I'll continue like that until the end. And I will mark that I did row 1 of the motif of the blanket, because those 10 round I don't gonna count. Only I will use those 10 round again at the end when I have to do 10 more of the seed stitch. That way it's nice and even in both ends of the blanket. I finished row 1. I'm gonna work on number 2, and now you have to do your seed stitches. And this is the last time I mentioned working the seed stitches of the border, because you know automatically those 8 stitches at the beginning and at the end of the blanket they are seed stitch, and it's repetition of 2 rows, row 1 and 2. So for the other ones, and then I'll be showing you what to do for those 8 row repetition. But my first two motifs I will work in Spanish, and then I will show you in English. Once you pass the marker, row 2 is exactly the same repetition of row 1. You're gonna net 2, and you're gonna purl 2. And if you look at your work, you are netting the nets and purl the purl. This to this side. Net 2. And purl 2. And like that you're going to continue all the way until the marker. You pass the marker, do the border stitch, you mark that you did row 2, and do the border stitch, and then when it's time to work in the stitch of row 3, I will meet you here. Now we're going to work in row 3, and we're going to start with 1 net and then 2 purl. And just by changing that, only doing 1 net at the beginning and 1 net at the end, you will change the look of the stitch. And then you continue to net to purl, to net to purl. At the end you will finish with 1 net, and then you will do your border stitch. This only says the 2 by 2. I finished row 3. I did a border for 4. Now in 4 you're going to do the opposite what you did in 3. In 3 you net 1, purl 2, and so on. And this one you purl 1 and net 2, because you're going to work the stitches as you see them. So this one is a purl, you will purl that one, and then you will continue to net to purl, to net to purl, to net, and then at the end before the marker you will finish with 1 purl. See, now you work the stitches as you see them. So before the marker you will do a purl, and then you do the seed stitch, and I will meet you here to work in row 5. I finished row 4, 5, and 6 are exactly the same. So very easy. You're going to start with 2 purl, and then 2 net. And you continue to purl, to net, to purl, to net, to purl, and you're going to end with 2 net stitch. And row 6 it will be exactly the same as 5. And you start to see how this is going diagonal, and it will look amazing. Wait until you see a few motifs done. Now I'm gonna work in number 6, and it's exactly as 5. You're gonna start with 2 purl, and then you'll continue to net to purl, to net to purl, and you'll finish with 2 net. You will do the border stitch, and I will meet you here to work in row 7. And we only have 7 and 8 to do after this. We're gonna work on number 7, and is the repetition of row 4. We're gonna start with 1 purl, and then you continue to net, 2 purl, knit, two purl. You're gonna do at the end 2 knit and finish with 1 purl. We're gonna work in row 8, and 8 is a repetition of 3, and you're gonna work the stitches as you see them. You're gonna knit 1, you're gonna purl 2, and then you knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and at the end you finish with a knit 1. And when I say you'll finish with a knit 1, I'm referring to the one before the marker, because after the marker is the C stitch, and you will do those C stitch as you're supposed to in that row. I finished row 8, and I'm gonna continue working those 8 row repetition. I'm gonna do that off camera a few more times to show you the progress. It's a gorgeous diagonal stitch. They look amazing, and it's very easy to do. And I left here the 8 row repetition for the diagonal rep and the C stitch, the 2 row repetition, so you can write that in a piece of paper or in a notebook, and then you can guide yourself by the stitch and work your beautiful blanket until you have almost the desired length. Remember, you have to do at the end those 10 row of C stitch. So far I've done 2 motifs, and look how gorgeous it started to look, the diagonal stitch, and with the C stitch border look very straight, very neat. Okay, so I'll continue working, and as I go I show you the progress. This is what I've done so far. A few repetitions of the motif. I love the combination of the C stitch on the borders and make it look really nice. I wanted to mention, make sure that you pay attention to your row repetition. I made a mistake. I was watching TV, I forgot to count that row, and I continued working, and I made a mistake around here, and I have done probably like 4 row more or 5, and then I realized that the stitch looked different, because you will see that look different if you make a mistake. And then I have to frog that, and then I continue, but that wasn't the row that I made a mistake, and then still I have to frog again until I figure out which one was the one I made a mistake, and then I fix that problem, and then I continue working. And I absolutely love the stitch, and it's nice and thick and really warm. So this is what I'm done so far with 1 ball of yarn. This is what I have left. I have to continue. And when I finish with the first one, I will measure, and I will give you the measurement of what you can do with only 1, just in case you have 1 and you want to do a small blanket. I don't know. And then I'll let you know with 1 how big your blanket could be. I have 3 of these, so I don't know if I'm gonna use 2 or 3. I finished working with my first ball of yarn, and this is what I've done so far. And I measured this, and it's 50 centimeters, 19.5 inches. So with 2 balls of this yarn I can do the blanket, because I only gonna work from 80 to 90 centimeters long for the baby blanket. That's a good size. So with 1 more will be plenty. Let me show you here, that way you guys can see what it looks like so far. I love this yarn for this blanket because you can see the beautiful stripes. They look amazing. So for the next ball, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna continue with the color as you're supposed to. So if I grab from the inside, this one is this color. It will go this way. I'll be skipping the next color that is this one in here. You see, I work one row with that one. So from the outside, if I remove this one, this little bit of this color, that is this one, I'll continue with this one, and then so on. So that's what I'm gonna do, and then I will work until I almost have the desired length, and then at the end I will do my 10 row of C-stitch. I was looking at the other ball of yarn, and this one had less of this color in the outside than the one I just showed you. So I'm gonna go with this one. This one have a little more specks like that. I don't know if you can see it. Than this one that I already finished working with. But that's the good thing, the beauty of doing handmade stuff. They look different, they look nice, you never know what they're gonna look like at the end. So I will work the rest of the stitches that I need to do, and then I will meet you here when it's time to do the border. I removed a couple of round of this color from the ball because I already have one row done with that color. Another one that's striped to be wider than the rest. I want to have the normal width as the other ones. I want that one to be one wider one than the rest. So I did that, and then I'm gonna change to the next ball of yarn. I still have a little piece of this, but I don't wanna use that. I'm gonna change right in the border. That way, when it's time to lose the tails, you don't have that seam in the middle of your work. I have the desired length before the border. I have 85 centimeters. So now I'm gonna start my C-stitch. I finished repetition of 2, so you don't have to do the 8 rows in order to start the C-stitch. As long as you start the C-stitch in the right side of your piece, it's no problem. So now I'm gonna start with the 1 by 1, 1 net, 1 purl, 1 net, 1 purl all the way until the end, and then go back with the repetition of the C-stitch all the way. So you're gonna do that back and forth until you have the same amount of row as C-stitch that you did for the border at the beginning. I finished my 10 rows of C-stitch. Now I'm gonna cast off or bind off the stitches, and I'm gonna purl these two together. And that one left in this needle, I'm gonna return to the other one, and I'm gonna purl together with the next one. Now that one, I will return to the needle and purl together with the next one. And like that is how I'm gonna cast off or bind off my stitches. Remember, when you are casting off, when you return that stitch back to the needle, it has to be nice and loose. Don't pull, because you want this to be a loose cast off. That way it's not pulling at the end of your blanket here. You see, it's nice and straight. There's no pulling in the stitches. Why? Because I'm doing this nice and loose. I'm not yanking or anything, I just loose. Now I'm gonna lose these tails, this one, the ones on here, and the one from the beginning, and I will show you the end result. But I absolutely love the way this baby blanket look. So I decided I'm gonna put a handmade tag. I never do this for blankets, but this one I absolutely love and look gorgeous. And with this little detail, it will look even more amazing. So I'm gonna weave this tail in here, and then with that tail, I will sew that tag. I have left 69 grams of yarn from the second ball. That is enough to knit a hat if I want to knit a hat. Well, this is the end result, and I absolutely love this baby blanket. The colors are amazing, the way it feels, everything about it I love, and it's very easy to do. And the measurements are 80 for the width by well, this is the end result, and I absolutely love this baby blanket. The colors are amazing, very easy to do, and it feels incredible. And the measurements are 80 centimeters for the width by 93 of the length. The perfect size for a baby blanket. And it looks amazing. I love it. Well, I hope you guys like it, and give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are not already a subscriber. And if you make this beautiful baby blanket and you want to send me some picture, you can do it through my Facebook page, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido, or my Instagram, Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. Please share my video with friends and family. That way you help me grow here in YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.